Welcome to Talk is Cheap, a podcast on leadership. Precious Eda is my name. And for the past few episodes, we've been talking about jumping off the bandwagon. We started by talking about social media and the proliferation of opinions. And then we talked about the bandwagon effect. And that's where we are. The last time we talked, I said one of the effects of the bandwagon is a loss of originality. The loss of originality. People lose their true sense of identity while following bandwagons. People lose their true self, true sense of identity while following bandwagons. Today, we'll be talking on a second effect, and I promised to talk about two effects, and now I'll be talking about the second effect of the bandwagon. The second bandwagon effect. And what's this? I call it the failures of personality. The failures of personality. Failures of personality. When people jump on bandwagons, when people follow trends without thinking, when they jump on trends, when they follow trends without thinking, at some point they discover that they have failed in their personal lives. They have failed in their personal lives. I know a story of someone who went to school and graduated from the university and got a degree, passed out with honors, was the best graduating student. But then during the convocation ceremony, at the end of the ceremony, the person handed over the certificate to his parents and said, "I did this for you. Now I'm going to do my own stuff." You know, there was a trend before this generation for many of us, even for many of us millennials, the trend that our parents wanted us to become particular people, wanted us to study particular courses in the university, wanted us to follow particular lines of in life, wanted us to become particular personalities in life. People groom their children to succeed them in business. People groom their children to become the best doctors, the best lawyers, the best pilots. And people just, after having children, they just dictate. They've already seen where they want their children to be, and they dictate. And they give less attention to the needs, the personality of the child. The personality of the child. And even though perhaps there was no social media back then, but it was a trending thing for parents to do. Most parents. In fact, I know parents who discouraged their children from playing football, and they now regret it because they see the kind of wealth that footballers amass in present day. So it was a trend for parents to dictate where the children would go off, and many times they pay less attention to the personality of the child. And then when you force the child to go in a certain direction for such a long time, and then at some point we discover that the child has failed in life. The child fails in life. Many times the children do not live up to the expectation. Many times at the time when the parent needed the child the most, the child disappointed the parent. I know many people who've said they weren't born for school. They just can't go to school. I know someone who said his brain was not meant for the university. But for these people, they just try and stay in the university because their parents would be disappointed that they dropped out. It was a bandwagon for parents of that time. And so it is now. Many young people, you're into music, but you're not a musician. You're into fashion designing, but you're not called to do that. It's not your purpose. It's not your destiny. It's not your nature. It's not your personality. Because everyone is going into this kind of business doesn't mean that you are also designed for that kind of business. You need to jump off the bandwagon. I said it many times and I say it again. That something is trending doesn't mean you must trend with it. You cannot jump on every trend. You'll end up following a pattern and a life path that will lead you to a place where you will fail in your personality. You need to jump off this bandwagon. Jump off. You need to jump off. You cannot afford to sacrifice your personality. You cannot afford to sacrifice who you truly are on the altar of popularity and popular opinion. You cannot. Jump off the bandwagon. You need to jump off. There is a place where you're meant to be. There's a pattern you're meant to follow. There is something unique about you that if you fail to follow, you will fail in your personality. You need to jump off that bandwagon. You need to really jump off that bandwagon. And so, people must realize that popular opinion must not always amount to personal opinion. And I say this, take for instance, political issues. I'll use Donald Trump for an example. I'm not a big fan of Trump, but I admire aspects of his personality while he was president. And though I believe that his approach should have been more refined, his approach to issues should have been more refined, and his lack of wisdom in approaching some issues really cost him the presidency. For instance, when George Floyd was murdered, I expected that the president of America would respond compassionately, but and then show concern for issues raised by the black community and all that. But what appeared was something almost indifferent, and then the major concern for him was upholding the law and ensuring that there was no breakdown of law and order and things like that. I just feel basically that his approach to many issues were not so wise, but he had great intentions. I could see that he had great intentions. And even now that Biden is president, we can see how Trump's administration had worked really well. But the bottom line is that I cannot be influenced to hate Donald Trump and insult him simply because some media people hate him and insult him. I cannot fail to see through what his plans are and appreciate some of his strategies just because there is always a constant criticism, negative criticism towards him. That's my personal opinion on Trump and all that. But I just say that to buttress the fact that even on social issues, governmental issues, political issues, your opinion must not be totally influenced by popular opinion. You need to jump off the bandwagon and think for yourself. Make choices based on the peculiarity of your personality. Yes, make choices and decisions based on the peculiarity of your personality. And I'll continue on Talk is Cheap next time. But remember, even if talk is cheap, you shouldn't stop talking. Somehow from talking, you get into doing. Thanks for joining me today. See you next time. Cheers.